Okay, this is indespeakable because this tree is still here. Yes, this tree is still here, but there is a tree missing. And that tree was the tree that my grandfather planted and was giving fruits. I don't know how you say shesek in English, but that tree is missing. And I like it that this area is still open. So this is the yard. They closed the other part, but there was a tree here. There was a tree here. But you see, they left that one, and that one was very beautiful because it went all the way up to the second floor. Now remember that tree as a child. So, Uranus is about to ingress into my fourth house, and I'm here visiting accidentally my parents' house, my mother's house. It's not. It's not an inbreeding family in that sense. Um, what are all these nails? It's not cute. But that's the place. And I had so many dreams about this place. And I think the social engineers or psychic spies were so obsessed with that place, or they were trying to understand my upbringing. And I'm like, I don't know, but I really like the spot. I really like. What I have to remind myself is that the air quality in the center is not as good as one would think. So while this place looks just gorgeous, the summer here is hot and humid, like Vietnam, um, but it is polluted to live here. So it's a bit of a Langsnam. However, this was my grandparents' house. I lived there with my mother during high school, where we were immigrating to the city to get kind of like a better school or a better footing. So eventually, when my grandparents divorced, they had to split the house, and they did something weird with the registration. It was still listed on my mom, even though she didn't own it, and she actually did not receive assistance that she needed in housing because of that. So this is what it's like to be a night chart. This is what it's like to be a night chart, where Saturn and paperwork makes weird things. But anyway, lovely place. They kept it so nicely. It's a very old building. A part of me is like hoping that it won't be bombed, and a part of me is wondering, like, is it time to actually renovate? But I also wouldn't like to lose the greenery here. And my grandparents were working class, so all very fascinating. And as I was thinking, look at this beauty. It's so simple, and it looks like living in a forest. And yet the air quality in the region is not as good as one would think, unfortunately. So one of the reasons we had to move out. And so I was thinking about real estate because it's something that bothers me a lot, and I'm called to tend to. But I do have my Chiron in conjunct Pluto and Neptune, which means that wherever you have kind of like a yod, you will have unexpected interferences. Don't tell me that you are for sale. Come on. I can't afford to buy you, but you're so cute. So, anyway, wherever you have a yod in astrology is where you have unexpected disruptances. I think I made up a word. Kind of like unexpected changes that challenge the very topic that you're tending to. Chiron in the fourth is housing. And so although I tend to the topic of housing, and I'm kind of like the wounded healer of housing and upbringing, it seems to be that the benefactors are actually others more than myself. And I kind of seem to get caught up in this situation because I'm kind of like I'm called to tend to real estate, and with the inconjuncts to outer planets, we are called to do the outer planets thing. At the same time, it's not like I'm the immediate benefactor, or it's not like I will enjoy that house stability or the longed for house stability without disturbances that my soul is longing for and perhaps is remediating in others. And so this sparks the questions for me how to even tend to housing and real estate in a way that is both perhaps stoic, and that's something very challenging to be stoic about. Okay? And this is also upbringing and family and having a family. I'm 41 years old, acting like a bachelor. I mean, I have the excuse that Uranus is about to ingress to my Uranus opposition, of course, midlife crisis. But also, there is this issue where this is a position in my chart where it kind of feels like a lot of the things like making a home are something that it's kind of like, it's not like I really fantasized on that ever, but it's kind of like a fantasy that I cannot even allocate time to, because it seems so, how could you even with that aspect and not having a steady place to live, which was a vehicle for transformation in my childhood. We were moving out a lot, and with Uranus in the fourth house, that is expected. When I was young, it was just, my parents or my mom doing the moving. And what you're watching is the entrance to the Yarkon Park, which is one of the most polluted yet beautiful places in Israel. It's kind of like a sacred beauty that is kept by a nuclear river called the Yarkon. But very peaceful place. I actually do want to go to the direction where my high school was. And this is again fractions. Look at the light. Oh my God, the light is so amazing. It's no wonder I did filmmaking when I lived here. I mean, what could you do other than stare at this beautiful light fractures into even the most summery scene, and all this greenery still around? I'm getting poetic. So this is a place I spend a significant amount of my upbringing in, and just look how gorgeous it is. The emphasis on the balance with the greenery and the city is very strong, but this also gives us an air pollution reality check when it's kind of like, I'm not into the net zero thing, but I am into solar energy at large. I think it's not a bad thing, which is no less important than plastic when it comes to the oceans. So this little place goes all the way to Tel Aviv and all the way to the big giant mall in Ramat Gan. And I'm making the unconventional way, which is not to the sea right now. And this is how I walked to my high school. So that was a lovely journey. Going back to that yacht that I have with Chiron in my fourth house, it is, now when Uranus is going to ingress, usually it is a telltale of having to move a lot. But A, I'm 41 and I feel kind of old. And B, I am the one who's going to have to take care of that, which is not going to feel as jolly as my childhood. I mean, my childhood, let's just say I like to move because I never really, how should I say it? The excitement of a new beginning was alluring. And I also think about parents raising children, having that yacht for a child. A lot of people ask my parent, why do you move your child so much? They need a stable place. I was like, no, I was not getting well with that stable place. And those moves were actually good for my soul. I'm very glad I moved around. But to do that alone when you're 40, at least I'm not like a householder that have to move my children around. My mother did that as a single parent, which is both disturbing of how much responsibility she had to take on, but also very exciting. And yet the things that were available there and then are not always the same now, whether it's the interests or being able to live on the interest, or the weather, or the world war that permeates Europe as well. So I spent most of my childhood taking a look at a lot of real estate, but not really enjoying actual living. I fantasized about cabins from woods, and as a child I was even exposed to the practical reality of hey, that depends on the climate, and kind of the very grounding thing about holding a house, cleaning a house. But it wasn't like I was going to do that for prolonged periods of time. And it is true that on a very foundational level, the yacht sparks changes that the soul needs. And when those changes are to the very foundations, okay, that can be just so challenging and exhausting. I think I know where I am. This is exciting because I lived in a couple of places here too. Just the place grew so lovely. It's just heartwarming. I don't think anybody can afford to live here. But there is this ideation that this is just a lovely place. And when I say that, I mean that, okay? Being tied up to some personality cult is not being able to afford to live. I mean, if we talk about, budgeting and finances and budgeting for something, budgeting for our sanity is a topic with Neptune in Aries. And going back to this kind of childhood, teenagehood memories, it really is something that, first of all, knowing that as an astrologer is beyond what any type of consultation that I know of could give me. Because with psychology, we would try to build up the upbringing and how to change the upbringing. And again, I don't underestimate that. It's very likely going to be a lot of my coming 7-8 years. This place is so beautiful. And at the same time, being an astrologer, the chart does tell a story that we don't want to immediately nullify or discount. It has an explanatory force that just, doing psychology or even mediumship or channeling will not give me all that depth. It is true that also just looking at the chart without experiencing for the fact that my sun in my solar return now is in the 4th house. Yes, my heart is a bit more in shape than I expected. So, yeah. Which is good news. This is such a beautiful, I think I remember when they just changed that and renovated, and it looks so nice. At any case, yeah, those are the places I used to live. None of these places looks the same. They already renovated everything. And going back to the topic, there are all these issues around real estate, which is like, oh, my job, I can't afford to live here, I can't this, I can't that, and so on and so forth. But even when I take all of that away, that Chiron in conjuncting Pluto and Neptune in my chart is emphasizing on the fact that indeed there is a topic of rocky foundations that is probably not going to go away. And there is something humbling, terrifying, and stoic about that. I really remember walking away from high school after the entrepreneurship meeting. It's kind of like all these childhood memories coming up. Yeah, that was the toothpaste thingy, but that was at IBM. And oh, look here, Olive. Oh. And so that is, yeah, everything is coming back when you, and I dreamt about this place so many times. It's kind of like everywhere I grew shaped my upbringing, so I don't even know why. And coming to a place after some time creates a romanticism around that, which is just irresistible. And I really enjoy like the sense of joy and happiness that I feel, albeit not being able to afford to even rent here, is striking. So this is where no fucking way. It's antithetical to my job. Look at this beautiful painting. And so, me tending to political assassination prevention, random libraries at buildings. I can't even blame social engineering for that. Oh, you are for sale. You know, it's... And you know what, when I think about it, it's not like looking even at somebody who's kind of like out of your league or something like that. It's kind of like my life trajectory and your life trajectory don't go into this safe, stable foundation mode. And yet I like appreciating you. There's some sort of unconditional love to housing and real estate that I'm growing here. And also this sense of acceptance that comes with that. So I have a solar return with Sun in the 4th house, which is housing. And I have Uranus about to ingress to my natal 4th house, which is 7-8 years of dredging up all the fantasies, the dreams, the childhood longings, how I fantasized housing to be, the reality checks around that, and the ideation and all that, and the joy of the mythical, the experience around this place. I think only people who are actually, I don't know, doing real estate or architecture can understand me now. And so it is something like baking a cake that you will never be the guest of eating more than a slice of, and at the same time enjoying the process so much and caring unconditionally about something that you might not be the person to grow in. And I'm like, that is so coinciding with everything I do, from astrological considerations for declarations of independence to like tending to housing topics. And I guess a lot of people think I'm this real estate shark that's gonna kill everybody. I'm like, no, I don't, like, my chart doesn't even show me having a steady, stable house, or that, and I'm such a, you know, being in my 40s, I'm kind of like, there's so many things I'll have to liberate in my psyche, whether it's what I own or the ability to move around quickly, in the sense of, you know, today I live here, tomorrow I live there. But it's kind of like at the time where my Rahu returned, that fell so flat, where I was homeless, helpless, everybody trying to recruit me to some intelligence of something. And I'm like, and I was so tired. But when I got to that, you know, promised land of having a home, which was really, the location was a paradise, there's nothing bad to say about that. The other things I already mentioned. So moving on from there, I was so fucking exhausted. And also the ideation of, let's say, being this traveling, you know, this traveling home that sounds so lovely, requires a stable foundations that I do not have. So it doesn't go quite well with having a family, or even, you know, staying in one place. And I'm also not the type to be bossed around. So it doesn't go, it's not like, I don't know, you're working for a place and they need you here and they need you there, and they arrange for you here and they arrange for you there. And I'm also not so psychologically compatible to be like, you know, the housewife of a globally traveling man without having my own foundations. And yet my own foundations is the rocky part. Now, of course, that has, and when you think about Chiron in the fourth house, is generally quite challenging. But with that Yod position, it's kind of like, well, my God, this is beautiful. It's kind of like that challenge is not going to go away. And there's almost a question of what is the point in all that liberation? And for me, walking here in a home environment of a place that used to be my home, but, you know, I'll be damned if I could ask for more than a glass of water here. And even if, you know, and yet the experience of just me walking here in a beautiful nature and surroundings, I know that was painful, but it's the reality of so many people. Even if you're in a situation like, people are gonna ask, like, even if they try to help you or whatnot, and it's kind of like, this is so big that nobody could understand. And within that striking beauty of everything, the striking beauty of the nature, the striking beauty of, you know, the light coming from between the trees or between the leaves. And I'm coming close to my high school right over that area, I remember when I lived and I had a dream that I was highly suicidal, and I dreamt that I was being assassinated. There were, I think, 7 bullets going through my spine, and it felt so relieving to die. I know it's not the first time that I tell this story, but this is the area where it was, and it's a part of why I wanted to go towards the high school. And I had so many dreams about that high school as well. I think the place was just bombarded with social engineers. But this is also my childhood experience. So for people that grew around that, oh my God, look at this farm. This agricultural school here. But then I'm going towards the high school. And you see, however digitized and engineered and so on, this is my upbringing. And those are my childhood memories or teenagehood memories. So, and again, here I remember walking with my tiny crew when I was making a film in high school, short film in high school. And somewhere around here, my editor used to live. So I think this is also where the personal chart meets kind of like the outside world. Because this is an unconventional type of story that the theoretical frames of the psychology of upbringing, or even the testimonial, which is very important, but without the astrological context would lack validation or would be dismissed as limiting beliefs. And yes, like definitely, if there are limiting beliefs, I'm very likely to liberate them as well. At the same time, there are those genuine challenges, and of course there is also the emotionality around that. I think I pretty much told, this is Louisa, I have to pick, it's not drugs, this is a lemon balm, I think it's called. Or this one is exciting. But this is exciting, that is safe. Yeah, I'm eating leaves. Forest girl. Mowgli. I said what I said. And so I think I told the story of like Netherlands, which was overall growth of me as an astrologer. Because that tells a story that all of the other things I tended to only tell the fractions of it, but also they are important to understand the astrological story as well. And yet my personal story does matter when it comes to changing things so that people can have housing and upbringing and childhood. And that's the thing about the Yod, that my story is helpful for other people. Like, it is important to change society, and I do have a value to bring to that. And yet I'm very likely not the immediate recipient, and definitely not the recipient of that oh God. Anyway, let's just say, perhaps I will rephrase that.